In this video, I'm going to show you how to combine different shapes. In this video, I'm going to show you how to combine different vector shapes. So I'm going to come over to my tools, and I'm going to come to, I'm going to make one shape where I'm just using the standard shape tool. I'm going to make this square. And once I have the square, I can come up to the properties, and I think I'm going to make this red because I very much enjoy red. And let's have a stroke of, I'm going to get this darker line, and I'm going to make it into a stroke of 10. So it's 10 pixels. Actually, that looks pretty small, so let's bump it up to 20. Now you see I have one shape. So let's make another one. I want to give this a couple of bumps to it, and I'm going to do this freeform with the pen tool. So I'm going to start creating a new shape. Let's give it some little horns. I'll option click to take away the curve, add a different curve, and then I'll finish it. There we go. I like that. So I think I'm going to come over, I'm going to copy it, paste it, and I'm going to come to Edit, Transform, and I think I'm just going to flip it horizontally. So now that I've got two. So I've got a couple things, and I've started to build out this shape, but I don't want to have a bunch of different shapes in my layers palette. You can see that it's already stacking up a bunch, and if you do want a variety of different ones, because we can edit each individually and move them around, maybe it's a good idea to shove them all into a group folder. But I think I want to combine them all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of them by holding down Command, and I'm going to click on the different layers. So now that each of them are highlighted. Once I have each of the things selected, I can right click and I can come down to merge shapes. That'll merge them together so that they all belong on the same layer. But if I change over, you can see that I'm going to change over to the path selection tool. These are still each individual shapes. They just all exist on the same shape layer, all connected into one. Which can be very helpful. I can move them, and you can see their intersections are merging together, because at the top, I have it as combined shapes. I can change it to some different things, such as intersect layers, to where it only, wherever it intersects the top one, does it show, as well as exclude, whereas it excludes those places where it's touching. But that can get really weird, as we can see on the left, where I have multiple shapes together. But I want to combine them all together. So right now I have it as combined shapes, and I'm going to merge these components. So now it has turned this into one whole path, which can be very helpful. If I shift over to the direct select, I can edit these individually, as well as I can play with the pen tool and subtract things. So that can be very helpful. I can also put in negative space things. So on a different layer, when I create a new shape, this time I think I'm going to cut a hole in it. I don't know, we'll give it some weird abstract mouth thing. I've created a new shape that's on top of it. I'm going to select both of my layers by holding down Command and clicking on the different layers. I'm going to right click, come down to merge shapes, so they belong to the same layer. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change how they blend together. I'm going to come down to the properties. I'm going to say subtract, so it subtracts the front shape from the back shape. And then I can tell it that I want to merge them. So now it's one whole completed shape instead of two shapes. As before, if it was two separate shapes, if I were on if I moved it around, you can see that I can move them independently, which I don't want. Actually, I kind of like that over there. It looks like it's looking over to the side. But I'm going to come up and I'm going to merge them. And so now this exists as one completed shape. But because it's a vector tool, I can always change my tools around, and I can play around with individual anchors, and I can play with them to get them to exactly the way that I want those things to exist. And that is how to connect different shapes in Adobe Photoshop using the vector tools.